Good morning, everyone. It's Bob, and it's the 10th of September. We stayed 6 days back in July in Llandudno, North Wales, a holiday town of some 20,000, a little smaller than Arbroath, and we had a great relaxing holiday. It's called the Queen of the Welsh Resorts. We witnessed several instances of Christian faith while we were there. Llandudno itself takes its name from the ancient parish of St Tudno, with an isolated chapel on the Great Orme, a large hill towering over the west end of the town. From Victorian times it's been a holiday town, a place to stay in luxurious hotels, take the waters and promenade along the 2-mile front. Halfway along the front is a huge auditorium and stage space called Venue Cymru, an ideal building for theatre, pop concerts, musicals, party political conferences and AGMs. This is a conference town, with all the accommodation you would need for delegates to stay close by the main arena. And so it was that as we walked along the prom before getting on our bus home, we met a gathering of some 300 people on the last day of our stay. They'd made their way down to the beach and the exposed sandbank as the tide was out. They were standing, some in groups, some alone and apart, some walking with their hands clasped in prayer. Then they made their way up to the Venue Cymru. You know, Esther and I are not shy in making ourselves known, so we talked to a small group and discovered they were delegates from all over Britain, people of faith, members of a Pentecostal denomination, an apostolic church. They'd been praying down by the water's edge before attending their AGM and weekend worship gatherings. We met the keyboard player who would lead the praise and one of the keynote speakers. One from Birmingham, others from London, we were told, not many from Scotland. They were happy to meet their colleagues from all over the country, laughing, looking forward to their meeting, sharing their faith and worship over the weekend, and happy to meet us from up north. On a couple of evenings during the week, we listened to the Llandudno Instrumental Band. In the open air on the prom, a brass ensemble in their smart blue uniforms, similar in numbers to our Forfar brass players, delighting a crowd of onlookers on deck chairs and benches. They played a half hour of modern music, film themes and hymns, including a very moving arrangement of The Lord's My Shepherd to that familiar tune, Crimond. That made us think of home and singing it in Forfar. At the weekend, we gathered further along the prom to meet the UBM, the United Beach Mission, a group of about a dozen young people in their red tops, singing favourites from a hymn booklet distributed round the crowd. An adult led the service and during the evening invited 3 of the young group to briefly tell their life stories, have an interview with him and tell him how they came to know Jesus and live a life of faith. Firstly, Asa, a 17-year-old schoolboy sitting his GCSE, told of getting in with the wrong crowd at school, partying the night away at weekends and generally wasting away his time on a downhill path. A friend invited him to a beach mission evening, and the message he heard that night changed his life. And now he's learning to lead worship and help other youngsters. Next, Natalie came forward to speak, a young woman, I'm guessing early 30s, from Birmingham, who had a Christian background, had trained for and joined the police force in that city. At first, everything went well, and she enjoyed meeting the public, keeping people on the right path and helping them when she could. It was back at the station at rest time and meals in the canteen that problems began. She made no secret of her faith, and that didn't go down well with the others, especially the men. "Why don't you like me talking about my life and faith when all you do is talk about football?" It became too much for her, and she felt there was nothing for it but to leave the force and a promising career to search elsewhere for a fulfilling life. She felt she'd found it, working with the mission, worshipping and singing in front of the public and spreading Jesus' word. Lastly was Daniel, an earnest young student, challenging his audience to look at their lives and try to turn them round into being caring, responsible citizens who would help their neighbour. He admitted that tragedy in his own family had shaken him and shaken his faith. He'd recently lost a younger brother and blamed God for it. But then, at a gathering like the one in Llandudno that night, he realised that God was not responsible for the accident. It happened to him as it happened to so many around the world. It tested his faith, and he learned through the mission that Jesus gave up his own life to atone for the sins of others. Daniel had become a strong disciple of the Lord with a strong faith of his own. I hope you've enjoyed a good holiday break this summer. All the best and have a good week.